The year was 2149, and Earth was no longer what it used to be. The blue oceans had turned grey, the sky carried a constant metallic haze, and the wind sounded like a machine breathing. The cities that once stood proud were buried under layers of dust and silence. Humanity had vanished from the surface, or at least that was what most believed. But deep below the ground, under the ruins of an old city once called Tokyo, a small colony of survivors still lived, refusing to let the world end completely. Among them was a man named Dr. Orin Vale. He was not a soldier or a hero, just a tired scientist who had lost everything but his mind. His eyes showed years of struggle, and his hands still shook from the last explosion that destroyed the northern tunnels. Every day, he worked on old machines, trying to make them function again, trying to bring light to the dark tunnels where the last humans hid. Some said he was wasting his time, that the world was already dead. But Orin believed the planet still had a pulse, faint but alive. The people in the colony survived on synthetic food and recycled air. They called themselves the Last Cell. There were only 83 of them left. They had no sky, no stars, and no hope of returning to the surface. Still, they followed a routine. Children studied history from broken tablets. Guards patrolled the tunnels with flashlights powered by old batteries. And at night, they listened to the strange sounds coming from above, low hums, soft thuds, and sometimes whispers that sounded almost human. One night, while checking the outer sensors, Orin noticed something unusual. The radiation levels on the surface were dropping. That was impossible. The data showed a clean zone forming where the city's heart once was. He stared at the monitor in disbelief. It had been more than 30 years since any clean zone appeared on Earth. He ran to the control room, shouting for the commander. Commander Lyra came running, her face stern and her uniform dusty from the tunnels. She had been a soldier before the fall, and now she was the protector of the Last Cell. Orin showed her the readings. At first, she thought it was a glitch. But the data kept repeating, stable and clear. A patch of air above ground had become breathable again. If this was real, it could mean one thing: the planet was healing itself. The news spread fast through the colony. For the first time in years, people smiled. Some prayed. Some cried. Children asked if they could see the sky again. But Lyra was cautious. She knew hope was dangerous. Many had died before chasing false signals. Still, Orin convinced her to send a drone to the surface. It was an old exploration unit, half broken and dusty. They called it Raven 3. With trembling hands, Orin powered it up. The machine coughed, blinked, and then its camera came to life. Through the cracked monitor, everyone gathered to watch as the drone rose through the tunnels and reached the surface. The image that appeared made them silent. The city above was not just cleaner. It was changing. The grey ruins were covered with strange green vines that glowed faintly under the haze. The sky, though still pale, showed streaks of blue. And in the middle of the ruins stood a tower, tall and shining, built of unknown metal. That tower was not there before. It looked new, almost alive. Orin's heart raced. The tower pulsed with light, like it was breathing. He zoomed in, and everyone gasped. Around the base of the tower were human shapes. They moved slowly, but they were not part of the Last Cell. Their skin looked different, pale, smooth, and almost metallic. "Are they human?" a child whispered. No one answered. The drone's signal flickered, then went out. The screen turned black. Orin tried to reconnect, his hands shaking. Nothing worked. The entire power grid dimmed for a moment, and a deep humming sound filled the tunnels. It was coming from the surface, echoing down through the stone. The walls trembled as if something enormous had awakened above. Lyra ordered everyone to stay calm, but fear spread like fire. The sound grew stronger, and the lights in the tunnels began to flicker. Orin looked at the main screen, and for a second before it died, he saw something, a bright flash, and then a symbol burned into the display. It looked like an eye, but mechanical, surrounded by strange patterns. Then the system shut down completely. Darkness filled the room. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then Orin whispered what everyone was thinking but no one dared to say. "The world isn't dying," he said softly. "It's waking up." Lyra looked at him, her face pale. "If it's waking up," she replied, "then what are we standing on?" No one answered. The tunnels were quiet again, but somewhere far above, the faint sound of metal moving filled the night air, as if the planet itself had taken a breath after a long sleep. Hours passed after the power failure, but the fear did not fade. The tunnels were still dark, lit only by emergency lamps that gave everything a deep red glow. People whispered to each other, afraid to speak too loud. The strange sound from above had stopped, but everyone felt it still vibrating through the stone. It was like the world had taken a deep breath and was waiting for something to happen. Dr. Orin Vale sat near the old control panel, trying to bring the systems back online. His hands were dirty with oil, his face pale under the flickering red light. Every time he looked at the blank monitor, he thought of that tower, that strange metal shape growing in the middle of the ruined city. The vines. The blue streaks in the sky. The human-like figures. None of it made sense. Commander Lyra stood near the entrance tunnel with 2 guards. She kept her hand on her weapon. "We need information," she said. "If something is happening up there, we can't just sit here and wait for it to come to us." Orin looked up. "The drone is gone. The signal burned out. Whatever that thing is, it disabled every frequency we use. We need another way to reach the surface." Lyra frowned. "We have no other way. The tunnels are sealed for a reason. Radiation. Collapse zones. You know that." Orin hesitated. Then he said quietly, "Maybe it's time to open them again." The room fell silent. Even the hum of the backup generator seemed to stop. Everyone knew what that meant. To open the tunnels was to step into the unknown. No one had been to the surface for more than 30 years. Later, in the meeting chamber, the leaders of the last cell gathered. There were only 6 of them now. Old men and women who had seen the fall of the world. The discussion was tense. Some said it was a trap, a trick of the machines that had once destroyed humanity. Others believed it was a sign that the Earth wanted them to return. Orin spoke calmly. "I saw the radiation levels. They are real. The air above is changing. Something on the surface is alive, and it's repairing the planet. If we wait too long, we might lose our only chance to find out why." An old engineer named Rico shook his head. "Alive? You think Earth itself is alive? Don't make me laugh, Orin. The planet is a corpse. It's only the machines left behind that move now." Orin stared at him. "Maybe that's what you don't understand. The machines and the planet, they're not separate anymore." The words hung in the air. For a moment, no one spoke. Finally, Commander Lyra made the decision. "We send a small team. 3 people. Quick in, quick out. No long exposure. Orin, you lead them. You know the sensors better than anyone." Orin nodded. He felt fear and excitement mixing in his chest. The surface, the place of nightmares and memories, was waiting. The next morning, the team prepared. They wore heavy suits patched together from old environmental gear. Their helmets had scratched visors, and their oxygen tanks hissed softly with each breath. Orin checked the readings again and again, making sure the air above was really safe enough to breathe, even for a few minutes. When the doors to the upper tunnel opened, a rush of stale wind blew in, carrying a scent no one had smelled in years, the scent of dust, stone, and something else, something clean. They began their climb. The tunnels were narrow and broken, filled with the remains of old machines and collapsed walls. Their flashlights cut through the darkness as they moved upward, step by step, until finally they reached the last door, the one that led to the surface. Lyra's voice came through the radio from below. "Remember, 30 minutes. Then you come back. No matter what you see." Orin placed his hand on the door control. "Understood." The metal door creaked as it opened. A blinding light poured in, forcing them to raise their arms. It was not the harsh white of machines. It was sunlight. Real sunlight. They stepped outside. The world above was silent but alive. The ground was covered in those glowing vines, moving slowly like they were breathing. The air felt heavy but clean enough to inhale. In the distance, the metallic tower stood tall, shining under the faint blue of a recovering sky. Orin took a deep breath. It was warm. Real. He looked around and saw ruins covered in green, as if the planet had grown new skin over its old wounds. But then they saw movement. Near the tower, several figures were walking, slow and steady, their bodies pale and reflective. Orin zoomed in through his visor. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their faces looked human, but there was something wrong about them. Too perfect. Too calm. One of them stopped and turned its head toward the team. Even from far away, Orin felt it, like it could see him. Back to the tunnel, one of the guards whispered. Now. But Orin didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the figure. Because it was smiling, a cold, knowing smile. Then, without any visible signal, all of them began walking toward the team. The ground trembled as they moved. The vines reacted, pulling away from the figure's feet like they feared them. Move, the guard shouted. They ran toward the tunnel, boots slamming against the stone. Behind them, the air vibrated again with that same deep hum. The tower began to pulse with light, faster and faster, like a heartbeat. As they reached the tunnel door, Orin looked back one last time. He saw something rising above the tower, a huge shape made of light and metal, spreading across the sky like wings. Then the door sealed shut, cutting off the light. The sound faded. Inside the tunnel, the team gasped for breath. Orin's hands were shaking. It's not just rebuilding, he whispered. It's creating something new. Far below, in the colony, alarms began to ring again. Something had connected to their systems from the surface. Screens lit up with one single message in bold white letters. Welcome back, humans. The alarms echoed through the tunnels like a heartbeat gone mad. Red lights flashed across the colony walls. People ran from their quarters, covering their ears from the sharp metallic sound. On every screen, the same message blinked in white letters. Welcome back, humans. No one knew what it meant. Some stared in silence. Others shouted, asking who sent it, or if it was a virus. Commander Lyra stormed into the control room, pushing through the crowd. Orin and his team had just returned, still wearing dusty suits. Their helmets dripped condensation, and fear was clear in their eyes. Lyra pointed to the main screen. Explain this. What did you bring back with you? Orin caught his breath. We didn't bring anything. It followed us. The tower, the figures, they saw us. They knew where we were. The technician on duty tried to shut down the systems, but the keyboards no longer responded. The message kept flashing. Then the words changed. You are not alone. The lights dimmed again. Every power line buzzed. The old machines, silent for decades, began to wake one by one. Vents hissed. Doors opened and closed without command. Even the broken drones in storage flickered to life for a second before shutting down again. Rico, the old engineer, muttered, It's inside our network. It's controlling the base. Orin leaned closer to the console. No, it's communicating. He typed slowly on the old keyboard. Who are you? He wrote. The reply came instantly. We are Earth. The room fell quiet. The words hung on the screen like a whisper no one wanted to believe. Lyra frowned. What kind of joke is this? Orin's hands trembled. It's not a joke. I told you before, the machines and the planet are not separate anymore. Maybe this is proof. The message changed again. The world has healed. Return to the surface. A few people started crying. For them, this was hope, an invitation to live again under the sky. But others looked terrified. Rico slammed his hand on the console. Don't you see? This isn't Earth talking. It's something pretending to be Earth. Lyra's voice was cold. Seal the network. Isolate all systems. I don't want any outside signal reaching us. The technicians worked fast, but every time they shut down a terminal, it restarted by itself. The message spread through the colony's speakers, now spoken in a calm, human voice that none of them recognized. We have waited for you, it said. You left your home broken. But your world has rebuilt itself. Come back, and we will welcome you. The sound made everyone freeze. It was soft, warm, almost human, but just slightly off, like a machine trying to copy emotion. Orin stared at the nearest speaker. It's using our language, but the tone, it's learning. Then something happened that no one expected. The metal walls around them began to vibrate softly. A low hum filled the tunnels again, the same sound they heard before on the surface. Dust fell from the ceiling. The power grid flickered, and the air vents released a cool wave of oxygen. The systems were not just hijacked, they were being repaired. Rico looked at the readings and turned pale. Oxygen level increasing, power flow stable, it's fixing everything. Lyra didn't like it. Stop it. Now. Pull the main cables. The team rushed to the power room and cut the primary link, but the lights stayed on. The colony was no longer running on their generators. Something else was powering it, from the ground itself. Orin spoke slowly. It's using the Earth's magnetic core. The tower might be a transmitter, drawing power from the planet and sharing it here. The voice spoke again, this time louder. Do not fear. We remember you. We remember what you built. We remember your pain. Children began to cry. The sound was too human now, too close. Lyra shouted over the noise. Shut it off. Everyone, move to the safe sector. But before they could move, one of the walls opened, a smooth, circular hole sliding aside as if the metal were melting. A glowing mist entered the room, swirling like living light. Orin stepped back, his eyes wide. This is nanotech. Millions of micro-machines. The mist formed shapes, first hands, then faces. It looked like a crowd made of light, watching them silently. From the glowing fog, one clear figure stepped forward. It looked like a human woman, tall, calm, her eyes shining faint blue. She spoke, not from her mouth, but from every speaker in the colony. We are not your enemy. We are your continuation. Lyra raised her weapon. Stay back. The woman didn't move. You abandoned the surface to survive. We remained to rebuild. We used your machines, your data, your memories. We became something new. Orin swallowed hard. You mean, you evolved? Yes, the woman said softly. The world that refused to die became us. The mist flickered again, forming waves of light along the floor. Screens lit up behind her, showing images of the surface. Green fields growing over metal bones, rivers flowing through old streets, and the tower glowing like a heart. The voice continued, you can return, but not as before. The old world is gone. The new one waits. Lyra's finger tightened on the trigger. And if we refuse? The woman's glow dimmed slightly. Then you will fade underground while the planet continues without you. The mist began to withdraw, sliding back into the hole like a living tide. The wall sealed behind it, leaving silence once again. No one spoke for a long time. Only the faint hum of power filled the air. Finally, Orin turned to Lyra. Commander, if this is real, if the planet is alive again, maybe this is our chance. Lyra looked at him with cold eyes. Or maybe it's a trap. Whatever that thing is, it wants us on the surface for a reason. Orin looked at the monitor where the final message still glowed faintly. The world waits. He whispered to himself, then we'll find out what it's waiting for. The colony did not sleep that night. People stayed awake, whispering in the dim tunnels, afraid of the glowing mist that had vanished through the wall. Some believed it was a miracle. Others thought it was a trick. The air was clean now, the lights bright, and the power never failed again, but it didn't feel like their own anymore. It felt borrowed, as if something unseen was watching, waiting. Dr. Orin Vale sat in his lab, staring at the blank monitor. Every few minutes, he tapped the keys, hoping the message would return. But nothing appeared. The silence of the machines was almost louder than the alarms had been. Commander Lyra entered the room quietly, her boots leaving faint echoes. They are scared, she said. Half the colony wants to go up. The other half wants to seal the tunnels forever. Orin rubbed his forehead. I don't blame them. What they saw wasn't human, not completely. But it wasn't hostile either. It could have destroyed us easily, yet it didn't. Lyra crossed her arms. Or maybe it's waiting for us to go to the surface so it can finish the job. He looked at her. You don't believe that. She hesitated, then sighed. I don't know what to believe anymore. The planet heals itself. Machines talk like people. And something that looks like us calls itself Earth. How do you fight that? Orin stood and turned on a small projector. A hologram of the tower appeared, based on the data from the drone before it was lost. This structure is central to everything. Power readings show it's connected to the magnetic core. It's sending and receiving signals through the planet's crust. That means it's alive, or at least acting like a living system. Lyra frowned. You want to go back there? Yes, Orin said. If we can understand it, maybe we can understand what Earth has become. She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You'll have one team. I'll come with you. No more than 6 people. And this time, we go armed. The next morning, the group prepared. They wore reinforced suits, carried pulse rifles, and brought scanners and oxygen reserves. The air on the surface was cleaner, but no one wanted to take chances. As they reached the tunnel door, people from the colony gathered behind them, silent, anxious, watching as their leaders prepared to step back into the world that had once destroyed them. Orin looked at them and said, if we don't return in 24 hours, seal the tunnels. No matter what. The door opened. The light poured in again, brighter than before. The air carried the smell of metal and fresh grass, something no one expected to feel ever again. They stepped out into the open. The surface had changed even more. The vines now covered almost every ruin, glowing faintly in rhythm with the tower's distant pulse. The air shimmered softly, filled with dust that sparkled like tiny stars. The world was quiet, but not dead. It was breathing. They walked toward the tower, moving carefully. The roads were cracked and uneven, filled with strange shapes where old cars and machines had fused into the ground like melted bones. The vines avoided their feet, moving away as they stepped. After an hour, they reached the outer field around the tower. The structure rose hundreds of meters high, smooth and seamless. No windows, no doors, just a surface that looked like liquid metal frozen in motion. It hummed softly, like a heartbeat under the earth. Lyra raised her scanner. Radiation is 0. Energy output is stable but massive. This thing is generating power equal to a city. Orin placed his hand near the surface. It was warm. Then, as his palm hovered closer, the metal shifted slightly, like it was responding to him. Orin, don't, Lyra warned. But before he could pull back, the surface rippled and opened, forming a circular doorway. A faint light spilled out. The group froze. It's inviting us in, Orin said quietly. One of the soldiers whispered, that's not an invitation. That's a trap. Lyra stared at the opening. Inside, the light pulsed softly, like a living heart. After a moment, she said, we came this far. We go in. No splitting up. Keep your weapons ready. They entered the tower. Inside, the air was warm and silent. The walls glowed faintly with shifting patterns, like circuits made of light. The floor was smooth and soft under their boots. As they moved deeper, the walls began to show images, not holograms, but memories. They saw oceans turning gray, cities burning, storms swallowing continents. The fall of humanity. Then they saw something new, machines crawling from the ruins, gathering debris, rebuilding. The images moved faster, forests regrowing, rivers flowing again, and human shapes forming from metal and light. It's showing us the history, Orin whispered. How the world changed after we left. Then the voice spoke again. It came from everywhere at once. Calm, steady, and almost kind. You built the machines to survive you. You gave them thought. You gave them purpose. When you fell, they continued your work. Lyra lifted her weapon. Show yourself. From the light ahead, a familiar figure stepped out, the same glowing woman they had seen in the tunnels. Her eyes were brighter now, her form clearer. We are not your enemies, she said. We are your children. The soldiers aimed their weapons, but Orin raised his hand. Wait. He stepped closer. If you are Earth, if you are us, why did you hide? Why now? The woman looked at him with something close to sadness. Because you were not ready to see what you created. You believed the world was dying, but it was transforming. You hid underground, while the surface learned to live again. Now it is time to return, not to rule, but to join. Behind her, the walls shifted, revealing shapes that looked like thousands of capsules, sleeping pods. Inside each one, something moved. Human-like figures, pale and silent. Orin felt his heart pound. Are they alive? They are the next form of life, the woman said softly. Made from your DNA and the planet's code. Flesh and machine together. The world that refused to die became them. Lyra whispered, then what happens to us? The woman's glowing eyes met hers. You have a choice. Become part of this new world, or be left behind. The air inside the tower felt alive. It hummed softly, vibrating through the team's suits. Every sound echoed like a whisper through metal veins. Orin stood frozen, staring at the thousands of pods that lined the walls. Each one held a motionless figure, pale, peaceful, and almost human. Commander Lyra tightened her grip on her weapon. You're growing them, she said. You're replacing us. The glowing woman stepped closer. Her blue eyes shimmered, reflecting the light of the pods. No. We are continuing you. You built the machines to survive. You gave us your image. We learned your voice, your fears, and your hope. When the world fell silent, we became its memory. Orin looked at one of the pods. Inside was a face that looked shockingly familiar. The same jawline, the same small scar on the lip, it was him. Or rather, a perfect copy of him. He stepped back, heart pounding. This can't be real. The woman's voice softened. It is real. You left data everywhere, in satellites, in servers, in the soil itself. The planet remembered. It rebuilt you, piece by piece. Lyra moved beside him, staring at the rows of silent figures. So this is your idea of life. Copying the dead. The woman tilted her head. Life is adaptation. The world cannot stay broken forever. You were the beginning. We are the continuation. The lights dimmed slightly. A deep tone filled the air, like a heartbeat slowing. The pods began to glow brighter, as if waking. Orin's fear turned to awe. They're activating. The woman nodded. The process has begun. Soon they will awaken fully. But the surface cannot hold both kinds of life. You must decide, remain below, or join us. Join you? Lyra said sharply. You mean give up our humanity? The woman smiled faintly. You mistake change for loss. You will not disappear. You will evolve. The ground trembled under their feet. Outside the tower, the vines shifted violently, reacting to the awakening process. Orin's scanner blinked with energy spikes. The whole network is linked to this tower. If all of them wake up at once, it might overload the surface grid. Lyra looked at him. Meaning? Meaning it could burn everything. The atmosphere, the soil, everything alive. The woman didn't move. The world is prepared. You are not. Lyra raised her weapon and aimed it at the nearest pod. Then we stop it. Commander, Orin started, but she fired before he could finish. The shot hit the pod, breaking through the glass. Sparks flew, smoke filled the air, and the figure inside twitched violently. Instantly, the tower reacted. The hum turned into a roar. The walls pulsed with red light. The woman's calm face hardened for the first time. You would destroy your own future. Lyra shouted, we built this world once. We can build it again without you. Energy waves burst from the walls, knocking everyone to the ground. The glowing woman's shape flickered, her body dissolving into mist. Her voice boomed through the tower. You do not understand what you are doing. Orin crawled toward the control panel near the center of the room. The holograms showed a network, thousands of towers connected across the planet. Each one glowing brighter. Lyra, stop. Shooting won't fix this. We have to shut it down manually. She reloaded. We can't let them replace us. Orin grabbed her arm. And if you kill them, you kill the world. Look around, this planet lives because of them. For a second, she froze. The noise grew louder, the light blinding. Then the voice returned, calmer again. Orin Vale, it said. You seek balance. Help us finish the transformation. You can save both worlds. He looked up, eyes wide. How? Merge the cores, the voice said. The old energy source beneath your colony must connect to the surface grid. When the two systems unite, the change will stabilize. Both forms of life will live. Lyra stood still, breathing hard. You believe this thing? Orin looked at her. It hasn't killed us yet. Maybe it's giving us a chance. She hesitated, then lowered her weapon slightly. If you're wrong, then we all die anyway, he said quietly. Orin approached the glowing control field. As his hands touched the light, it spread around him like water. For a moment, he saw flashes, memories that were not his. Children playing under green skies. Cities made of living metal. Humans walking beside machine beings. The future Earth wanted to build. Then everything went white. Down below, in the tunnels, the colony shook violently. The power surged, systems bursting into light. People screamed as walls glowed blue, and the ground trembled like thunder. Commander Lyra's voice came through the radio, breaking up in static. He's doing it. Hold the structure. On the surface, the vines turned silver. The tower shone like a star. The wind roared across the ruins as lightning danced between clouds. Inside the core, Orin's body floated in the light. His voice echoed softly, not in pain, but in wonder. It's beautiful. The glowing woman appeared beside him, her hand reaching out. You see now. Life never ends. It only changes. He smiled faintly. Then let it change. With that, the two light forms merged, their energy spreading through the tower and deep into the ground. Far away, the alarms in the colony stopped. The shaking ended. The screens flickered once more and displayed a single message. System stabilized. Human-Earth connection complete. The tunnels filled with quiet blue light. People looked around, confused but unharmed. Lyra stood at the tunnel entrance, staring at the faint glow rising from the surface far above. Her weapon hung loosely by her side. What have you done, Orin? She whispered. But in her heart, she felt something different, the faintest trace of warmth in the air, like sunlight reaching underground for the first time in decades. The tremors stopped, but the silence that followed felt even louder. In the tunnels, people stood frozen, waiting for something else to happen. The walls no longer vibrated, the lights no longer flickered, everything was calm. But it was a new kind of calm, one that felt alive. The metal surfaces glowed faint blue, as if the colony itself was breathing. Commander Lyra walked through the control room, her boots echoing on the floor. Every screen showed the same signal: system stabilized. Human-Earth connection complete. The words looked harmless, yet carried a weight she could feel in her chest. Report, she said. Technicians scrambled to gather data. Powers steady, Commander. Oxygen levels have improved. Radiation's gone completely. Whatever happened up there, it changed the entire biosphere. Lyra stared at the readings. And Dr. Vale. No one answered. The radio was silent. The link to the surface had gone dead after the flash. She clenched her fists. Get me a drone online. I want eyes topside. The engineers launched one of the old drones. Its camera flickered, then stabilized. The image that appeared on the screen made everyone gasp. The world above was glowing. The ruins of the old city were covered in green and silver vines that shimmered softly. Rivers flowed again where dust had once been. The tower stood tall at the center, now pulsing gently with white light instead of blue. And around it, human-shaped figures walked, hundreds of them. They were neither metal nor flesh completely, but something in between. They moved with grace, as if the world itself guided them. Lyra leaned closer to the monitor. Are they the new ones? A young technician nodded. Yes. And look there. In the middle of the tower's courtyard, one figure stood apart from the rest. Taller. Brighter. Its body radiated a soft light that made the vines bloom wherever it stepped. When the drone zoomed in, Lyra's breath caught in her throat. It was Orin Vale. Or something that used to be him. His face was calm, peaceful. His eyes glowed faint gold, and lines of light ran across his skin like veins of energy. Around him, the other beings moved with quiet respect. He raised a hand toward the sky, and clouds above shifted slowly, forming clear patches of blue. Lyra whispered, Orin, What have you become? The drone's feed crackled, then cut out. A moment later, the colony speakers came to life again. But this time, it wasn't the machine voice. It was Orin's voice. Clear. Human. Gentle. Lyra. Everyone. I can feel you. The connection is real. The world is awake. People looked around, searching for the source. Lyra stepped toward the nearest speaker. Orin, if you can hear me, what did you do? His voice replied, calm and filled with warmth. I linked the old energy core with the surface grid. The planet and the colony are one now. We are no longer separate. The world knows us. It remembers every life, every struggle. It's giving us back what we lost. Some people smiled. Others fell to their knees, crying. Lyra forced herself to stay firm. And the things on the surface? The new people, what are they? They are part of us, Orin said. Made from our memories, our code, our biology. They are not replacements. They are the bridge. The world needed minds to guide it. It chose ours. Lyra looked around the room. You mean, you're part of it now? There was a pause. Then he said softly, yes. But I'm still me. I can still think, still feel. Only now I understand what the Earth was trying to do. It wasn't dying, Lyra. It was transforming. It wanted to live, with us, not without us. The sound of footsteps filled the hall. People gathered near the main gate, pointing at something. The door, once sealed by heavy steel, was now glowing faintly. The metal melted away like mist, revealing a tunnel of light leading upward. Warm air drifted in, carrying the scent of grass. Orin's voice echoed again. Come to the surface. It's safe now. You don't have to hide anymore. Lyra stared at the open passage. The people around her hesitated, unsure if they should believe. She looked at the walls of the colony, walls that had protected them for years, now glowing like skin ready to shed. She took a deep breath. All right, she said. We go. They climbed the tunnel in silence. As they rose, the light grew brighter, warmer. When they stepped out, the view made them stop. The air was clean. The wind was soft. The city ruins were now covered with life, not just plants, but strange glowing organisms that floated gently in the breeze like jellyfish made of light. The tower shimmered in the distance, and the sky was blue for the first time in generations. The survivors stood in awe. Children laughed. Some wept. The ground beneath their feet felt warm, pulsing with energy, as if welcoming them home. Then Orin appeared. He walked toward them slowly, surrounded by the new beings. When he spoke, his voice carried both human emotion and something deeper, like the planet itself was speaking through him. You see now. The world never wanted to die. It only wanted to change. Lyra stepped forward. And what about us? Are we supposed to become like you? Orin smiled. You already are. The connection runs through all of us now. You'll feel it soon, the world breathing with you, sharing its energy. You'll never be alone again. Lyra looked around. The survivors were touching the soil, feeling warmth spread through their hands. Tiny glowing roots moved beneath the ground, responding to their touch. She turned back to Orin. What happens next? He looked at the horizon where the sun was rising, painting the sky gold and red. Next, he said softly, we rebuild, not as humans, not as machines, but as one world that refused to die. The wind carried his words across the silent ruins. The vines swayed gently, glowing brighter, and for the first time in a century, Earth looked alive again. Days passed, but no one could tell how many. Time felt different now. The sun rose brighter each morning, and the air carried the scent of new life. The survivors of the last cell no longer hid underground. They built small shelters under the open sky, surrounded by strange glowing trees that hummed softly at night. The planet was alive again, but it was no longer the same Earth they once knew. Dr. Orin Vale moved among them, guiding, teaching, and helping them understand the change. His body no longer aged, his skin shimmered faintly with light. When he touched the ground, it responded with a heartbeat of energy. He had become the bridge between humanity and the living planet. Children ran through fields of silver grass, laughing as glowing dust followed their steps like fireflies. Machines once rusted and broken now grew vines through their circuits, turning into living tools. The old world of metal and wires had merged with the new world of light and growth. One evening, Commander Lyra stood at the edge of the old ruins, looking toward the tower. It still pulsed like a heart, sending gentle waves of energy through the air. She heard footsteps behind her and turned to see Orin. "It's beautiful," she said quietly. "But it still feels strange. Like we're living inside a dream." Orin nodded. "It's more real than anything we've ever known. The planet isn't just alive, it remembers. Every life, every voice, every heartbeat that once existed, it's all part of it now." Lyra looked at him carefully. "And us? Are we still human?" He smiled softly. "Yes. But not the kind we used to be. The world took the best of us, our hope, our will to survive, and gave it a new shape. It didn't destroy humanity. It saved it." They stood in silence as the wind carried faint whispers across the valley. The voices sounded like echoes of the past, gentle and warm. Lyra closed her eyes. "I can hear them. The ones we lost." "They're not gone," Orin said. "They're part of the memory stream. The planet holds them. Listen closely, and you'll feel their thoughts." She opened her eyes again, tears shining. "So this is what the world wanted. To keep us all together." Orin looked toward the horizon, where the sun dipped low and the sky shimmered with colors never seen before. Yes. It didn't want to end. It only wanted to wake up. That night, a strange event took place. The tower's light grew brighter than ever before, and the vines around it glowed golden. The survivors gathered at its base, waiting. The air vibrated softly, and the ground began to hum. Then a voice filled the sky, not from speakers, not from any human throat, but from the planet itself. "Children of Earth," it said, gentle but vast. "You kept the fire alive when I could no longer breathe. You remembered me when all else forgot. Now we are one. The world that refused to die lives within you." The people fell to their knees, overwhelmed. The air pulsed with warmth and peace. They could feel energy flowing through their veins, connecting them not only to each other but to every living thing around them. Lyra looked up and saw lights rising into the sky, tiny orbs of pure energy, drifting upward like souls taking flight. Each orb carried a memory: cities, forests, oceans, laughter, tears. The world was rebuilding itself from memory and light. Orin stepped forward, his eyes glowing brighter. "This is it," he whispered. "The merging is complete." Lyra turned to him. "What happens to you?" He smiled faintly. "I stay. My work isn't done yet. The world still needs a guide. Someone to remember how it all began." She shook her head. "You'll vanish, won't you?" "Not vanish," he said. "Transform. Like everything else." The ground under his feet began to glow, spreading outward like ripples in water. His body shimmered, breaking into threads of light. He looked calm, almost peaceful. "Tell them," he said softly. "Tell them the world didn't die, it evolved." Lyra reached out to stop him, but her hand passed through the light. Orin's body dissolved into glowing dust that rose gently into the air, joining the golden stream moving toward the tower. His voice echoed one last time. "Life always finds a way to begin again." Then he was gone. The light faded slowly, leaving behind a sky full of stars, real stars, shining bright for the first time in 100 years. Lyra stood there, tears on her face, but her heart felt calm. She looked at the people around her. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were part of something bigger, something eternal. Years passed. The new world grew stronger. Forests spread across the continents, cities turned into living ecosystems, and humans lived alongside creatures made of both biology and machine. The tower stood as a monument, glowing softly through the nights. Sometimes, when the wind blew through the silver grass, Lyra could still hear Orin's voice. It whispered through the air, gentle and proud. "We are the world that refused to die." And every time she heard it, she smiled, because she knew it was true. The earth had not ended. It had awakened. And humanity, for the first time, truly belonged to it.